Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Untold Truth tonight. And I want to say Sitaram, Assalamu Alaikum, Sairam, and good evening. I myself, Master Eric, and Shivanan. Welcome back, Shivanan. So, before I go into the program tonight, I want to say thank you so much for the sponsors, especially Bonanza Drugs. They are located on 49 Eastern Main Road, San Juan. And their contact number is 674-1465. Let me tell you something. I've been in their stores. I've been in their pharmacies. But I want to say Happy New Year to everybody out there. And I hope you had a great Christmas. And if you're listening to me or you're watching me tonight, I want to say I know you had at least a pretty safe time because you're listening to me and seeing me tonight. But I also want to say we are live on U97.5 FM. And I want to say thank you for them for allowing and connecting. And so you that's driving the car tonight, you can listen to the program. If you have a question during the program, you can WhatsApp us direct. We have a big screen over here, and we watch the messages come in one time. You can WhatsApp us. If you're international, it's 1-868-354-4459. And locally, again, it's just 354-4459. And we would be glad to answer your questions as they come in. So, Shivanan, I want to start tonight before we go into the main topic. We've had quite a few phone calls in the last 2 weeks, believe it or not. They heard the program about when somebody is cremated. And what do you do with the ashes? A lot of people are still asking. And they wanted a little clarification on what do you do? Some people say you do X. Some people say you do Y. Well, first of all, we need to explain that when a person passes on and they're cremated, when the body is cremated, that is the vehicle that the actual soul was residing in. Who you fell in love with and the real part of the person that you were with, whether it's a friend, a spouse, or a relative, they're gone. Their soul departed the body.
Right.
And what's left is the vehicle. So when you cremate the body, and if that was the person's wish, then so be it. But what you have to understand, that is not the waste. It is the waste. It is the vehicle, the ashes of the vehicle that it was riding in.
Right.
Okay. So, in old traditions, and even clear up to the American Indians and the Aztecs, when they cremated the body, they scooped up the ash. They did not contain it. They would disperse the ash, right? The reason is the ash still has residue. The ash still has a partial energy.
Okay.
Okay? Now, that energy over a period of time puts out a negative residue. Because you were supposed to put the ashes, disperse it, whether you bury it directly into the ground, whether you put it in a river, you put it in the ocean. You are supposed to let it go back to the same 5 elements that we were made from. See, a lot of people don't understand, but science has proven this to where everything in the universe is linked to one atom.
Right.
Okay? So we need to get rid. Now, some people, they called this week and they said we want to disperse. So do we bury the urn in the ground? Well, you're still not releasing the ashes.
It's still in the earth.
It's still in the urn.
Right.
So, people, I'm not saying what you believe and what you practice is wrong. All I'm saying, don't be under the false impression that the soul is still residing with the remains of the body.
Right.
It's on its journey.
Okay.
It should be. It should be on its journey, and hopefully it's going to go to paradise, right? But we need to be very careful on how we handle the remains of a loved one or someone that we were friends with. So I wanted to clarify that. Then in the past, we've done programs on the soul. And then a lot of people say, but we're told this and we're told this. Well, that's good. But the thing is, let's look at it from a spiritual standpoint, not a religious standpoint.
Right.
Remember, 2 weeks ago, I did the program, What is the Difference Between Religion and Spirituality? And everybody even messaged in. They said, it makes sense. They're actually seeing a big divide between the two.
Big difference.
Now, I'm not saying religion is bad. Religion is fantastic. But you just can't have donkey goggles on. You have to research and try to get more information, right? And broaden your knowledge. Knowledge is power. Now, I'm not saying try to do it to have power.
Right.
What I'm saying, knowledge gives you awareness and understanding. And when you have understanding, when it comes to things like this, it's easier to let go
Right. Because they
of
know.
the loved one.
Right.
And what you're supposed to hold on to as an individual is the memories, not the physical remains.
But Master, some people say, well, I heard this before. Wow, somebody who was in the past guided me and so on. They told me that, later on in life, when someone passes on, and you remember, you bring back memories and you do things to remember them. It come like you're pulling them back, you're holding them back or something.
No, what happens, and we talked about it before, but I'll recap, because we may have new listeners, through the radio and on YouTube tonight.
Right.
See, people need to understand that when the soul departs the body, right, at that second, the soul has divine, semi-divine sight. That means it could see everyone that they loved or was with at the same time.
Wow.
Regardless of where they live in the world. Now, for the duration of the ritual period,
Right.
some are 20 days, some are 13 days, some are 40 days.
Right.
During that time, the soul, when it is released from the body, it's the size of approximately the nail of your pinky finger.
Wow, small.
That's how small. And then it comes out as an energy orb. Now, with the human eye, you're not going to see it.
No.
Now, when it comes out, during that ritual duration period, it is developing the astral outline of the regular physical body. Now, when it's doing that, if it is a sudden death, to where it was an accident. Let's say a car wreck. They didn't plan on it. It happened. They died instantly. For the first 24 hours, that soul is trying to understand. The soul, what I'm saying, don't divide. You have to divide the soul from the personality.
Right.
It's trying to understand that he's passed on. A lot of them try to come around you and they try to get your attention. They're trying to, but sometimes they're confused.
Right.
Okay, because it was not a planned death.
Right.
Right? Or if you're murdered. Right? So they're trying to communicate. And now they finally understand. So now they're around. Now, there's a transition period from the astral body to the spiritual body.
So when you pass on, you don't directly go into a spiritual body.
No.
Right.
There is a transition period. So this is what people need to understand. Now, when there's a transition period, before you enter the spiritual body from the astral body, you have to start being purified.
Oh.
And purification means that all the residue that we've accumulated from our body has to be peeled off. And some of the ancient scriptures describe it as, if people could picture an artichoke, you're going to peel this one off.
Right.
You're going to peel this layer off. You're going to peel this off. You're going to peel this off till you get to the pure soul. Now, a lot of people will say, we've never heard of this. But it's written. It's written in numerous ancient scriptures. Not just one belief. Many. Now, when the soul starts to be purified, a lot of people will say, but wait a minute. We thought the soul was a part of God.
Right.
So how can it absorb negativity or whatever we've done in our life?
That's a good point you bring up there, Master, because I was actually thinking that.
Did it hurt? No, I'm joking. No. And a lot of people do think about this. Now, yes, your soul is pure. Your soul can't lie. When a lot of beliefs, they say you have an angel on this shoulder and an angel on this shoulder.
Right.
And one's documenting the good, one's documenting the bad. Well, it's true. But in a different sense. Who do you think's really documenting what you do? It's your soul.
Oh.
I want you to understand. That's a direct link from the vehicle it's running in to God. Now, some people say, but if the soul is unclean, yes, it can absorb to a certain percentage. Now, the reason it normally does not is because, did you know your soul has multi-layers?
No, I didn't know this.
Have you even heard of it?
No.
So here we go. Just as when a baby is made through conception and the fetus and the baby starts to grow, it's within a womb. There's a lining.
Right.
Now there's a lining that has the liquid, and then you have the oxygen that is feeding through. But then there's another layer outside of that, and that is for protection. That whatever you may absorb, it'll be filtered. or whatever happens.
Right.
The same with the soul. The soul has layers that keeps it separate, but you're internally connected. Just like a fetus in a womb. Now, when we go and we think, nobody watching. I'm going to go do this. Or I'm going to go steal this. Or sometimes we even have, people that mock other people, and they're actually trying to see inside the house.
Yeah,
You understand? But people, you're not alone. I want you to understand this. The actual soul inside of you is seeing, hearing. It knows what you're thinking. So then all this is being recorded. And then when it comes to good deeds and bad deeds, I'm recapping a lot of stuff because people need to understand. So it is recording even your thought. Now, let me ask you something. A thought is the first thing that will enter you.
Right.
And from the thought comes the action. Now, it depends on you whether you're going to go through with the thought
Right.
or you don't. Okay? So, if your thought was very bad, a negative, aren't you already committing karma?
True.
That's why we're supposed to have a calm mind. Isn't a thought without action? I want to show you how this works. Doesn't a thought without a physical action create a reactive emotion?
That is true.
Doesn't the thought or a memory of a thought can trigger anxiety?
Yes.
So this is what we have to look at. Now, I'm going to go into something we never really talked about before. And a lot of people say, but when we die, we're going to be judged. That's true. I'm not arguing that at all. I don't care what belief you're in. God is going to have the final say and how we've lived our life. So then there are some scholars, and I have to say that, otherwise they'll say, oh, Master Eric said this. No. I got to give different visions, different views on a subject. And some scholars say that when your soul leaves the body and you start the purification process, and that's when you go through the Valley of the Dead. And the Valley of the Dead is centering the energy within the astral body to where it's balanced. And then once you get through the Valley of the Dead, you can start entering the spiritual body. So there are different, your auras and everything else. That's another thing I wanted to bring up. Your soul is within you. Now, on the outside of you, you have an aura. And the aura, doesn't it change colors per the mood that you're in?
Definitely.
Okay. Now, do you know there's different layers of the aura? Just like the soul within your body. So this is what I think we're going to need to get deeper in later. We need to really start explaining in detail exactly the process, how long it takes. Now, on the journey there's going to be obstacles. You're still going to have choices to make. I don't know where people come up with, you're going to go from A to Z
In a straight line.
in a second. It's not going to happen that way. And then when you do reach, they said when the soul reaches the spiritual body, it is going. It's going on the journey. Now, your life, this is what the scholars say, a lot of scholars, they state that your life, the memory of your life, keeps playing in front of the soul, reminding the soul of what you have done in your life, whether it is good or bad. Now, this keeps playing over and over and over. And they say that once you reach judgment, isn't the soul a part of God?
Yeah.
The soul can't lie, right?
No.
The soul can't say, oh, I did this because he told me to do it. Right?
Yeah.
The soul documents exactly what we've done, good and bad. So they say that when you get in front of God, that part of him is going to judge you. Because he has been in you all the time. They say that God himself is just like a judge and agrees or disagrees. But remember, the soul cannot deviate. The soul has to be pure. The soul has to do what's right. This is what they're saying. But typical beliefs, they say that if you believe in whoever they pray to, especially Christians, if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you have a room in heaven. Now, Shivanan, that is totally true. That is totally true. On one condition. There's a condition.
What's that condition?
Can you try to think what that condition might be?
I'm really not sure, Master.
What I'm trying to say, I'm using Christians as an example, but then we have Hindus, we have Muslims, we have, a lot of different factors. Actually, there's 4,200 religions in the world.
4,200.
Google it. You'll see.
Wow.
Okay? Now, when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, when you get baptized, doesn't he and this act of being baptized wipe your sins?
Oh, okay.
It
okay.
wipes your sins.
All right.
So, yes, if you passed on at that moment, you got a one-way ticket. But after that moment, just because you believe in someone or something, I have to be very neutral in how I talk because we have a very multicultural audience. You may believe, but does that mean you can still sin? We're supposed to walk closer to the image of Jesus. And that's hard to do because he was the Son of God. But you're supposed to live more of a righteous life. You're supposed to live more of a giving life. You're not supposed to hold grudges. You're not supposed to hate. You're not supposed to be jealous. You're not supposed to lust after people. So all of these earthly personality traits, that's what they're called. We adapt from culture. We adapt it from emotional situations. There is many ways that we get all these negative feelings coming into the body. But if you're spiritual and you truly believe in God, and the closer you get to God, the less things that bother you. You don't look at it like you used to. You don't hold hatred. You might get upset for a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're cool. You're calmed down. You forget it. And you say, it's done. And if you've said something, you ask for forgiveness. Or if somebody asks you for forgiveness, you forgive them. Right? You can't hold on to something. It's impossible because you're only damaging yourself. Not just physically, but you're damaging yourself spiritually. You're also contaminating the surroundings around your soul.
Wow.
See, people don't understand this. And this is where knowledge comes in. We're just not talking off the cuff. You know, and I think because of the response we've got off some of the earlier soul programs, I'm going to have a big class. I could have 200 people in here at a time. And I want to start having lectures. I want people to really understand this. And we're going to look at it through different avenues of beliefs. And then we're going to show comparison between beliefs.
Right.
You know, they're very similar. They are very similar when it's talking about the journey of the soul. A lot of people say, well, this one says this and this one says this. Yeah, but look at the comparisons. Do you know, clear from the Middle East, the Hindu philosophy of the journey of the soul is so similar to the Mayans? Now, back then, they didn't have TV, they didn't have cell phone, they didn't have internet. And how many thousands of miles are they apart? And then from the Mayans, the philosophy still boomerang back up to the North American Indians, the Aztecs. Similar, just little variations, right? So when you look at history, when you look at beliefs, and many are very close in the information that you're going to be getting, shouldn't there be some truth to it?
Definitely.
You know, this is what we have to look at. Now, how do we start to internally purify ourselves before we pass? Do you have any idea?
Wow. I think I start as by having a guru, and they guiding you, somebody that already
Or
walked
a
that
teacher.
path.
A teacher.
Yeah.
It could be a preacher. It could be a priest. It could be a pundit. It could be an imam or whatever, right? Yes, that's a must. But there's one thing in meditation, you can internally start the purification process within yourself. I know you were in you were in the first course.
Right, in meditation.
And in the first class, I went over about the higher mind, middle mind, and lower mind. And what is in each part of those. And the lower mind is where most humans stay, is in the lower mind. The lower mind, everybody, is where you have the fear, the hate, the jealousy, all the earthly emotions, all the desires that tempts us. Everything is stored in the lower mind. So when we did the meditation class, I taught everybody, and you can say yes or no, that when we do start to meditate, and I said you would be doing it by your second class. And when you started meditating, I told everybody, take a nosedive. Didn't I?
Yeah, definitely.
And I taught everybody what's going to happen when you go into the lower mind. Do you want to tell people what happened to you, if you don't mind, if it's not too private?
No, Master, it's my pleasure to share that. So when I went into my lower mind, right, just as you say, take the nosedive. Well, as I entered to that mind, it's like a sudden, like so much of darkness, you can't see anything in that part of your mind. But while progressing down there, I started to feel a sudden fear. But that was trapped in my lower mind, unknowing to me.
Correct.
Right? And I felt like so much fear, my heart started to race. And nothing particular making me scared, but I feeling like somebody coming behind me. I feeling like all these fears started to raise. And, and with your guidance, we had to trim the bush, as you will see. And we had to one by one clear all those different things we find, like anger, hatred, lust, all these different things.
So isn't this, you could class it as an internal purification?
Yeah, definitely. The way you feel after is feel totally different. You feel more light.
Now, when you started praying and when you started meditating, as soon as we cleared out the lower mind, what happened with you?
We skyrocket out everybody after.
Exactly. There is nothing heavy holding you back. See, I know hopefully my wife is going to do her little program soon, but she has a great analogy. I'm not going to give out the analogy. But everything that you cleared out, and everything that all of you listening, if you get angry or you get irritated, a lot of people come and say, I get anxiety attacks. My heart races. All this fear. Anger comes out. A lot of things is triggered. We can actually, through meditation training, and you saw that the classes we have is nothing like what's advertised. What you accomplish in 7 classes, it will take you over 15 years.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to let you know is that clearing the lower mind, you're releasing all that weight, the heaviness that you are lugging around all the time. And the soul knows this. The soul knows this. And I talked about it this morning, briefly, on the morning program, is that why don't we start listening to our inner self when it comes to making decisions? And I just want to take a break for a little bit because I really want to recognize Bonanza Drugs. It's a great place to get your items that you need from the pharmacy or in the store itself. The service is great, and they are located, Bonanza Drugs is located on 49 Eastern Main Road in San Juan, and their contact number is 674-1465. Again, 674-1465. And I want you to understand, when somebody sponsors like this, they're just not helping people in Trinidad and Tobago.
No.
Our biggest audience, and I'm telling you this now, is India. Second, believe it or not, Pakistan.
Wow.
Then it goes to the U.S. because of population size.
Right.
And then we have a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago, which I love Trinidad and Tobago. That's why I've stayed. But what I'm trying to say, they're helping a lot of people. We're trying to get a lot of information out to get people to understand. Because once you understand the process of the soul, there's less sadness. You already know what they are probably going through. You understand that they're going to a much better place. when everything is over than living here on earth. If a person was crippled or a vegetable or, they had a chronic disease, they were always in pain, they have none. They have none up there. There is no emotions. If the person died with hatred, once it is purified, there's definitely no hatred anymore as soon as it leaves the body.
Wow.
It's left behind. So then the soul has a choice to stay or go. Didn't God give humans the free will of choice?
Yeah.
Well, you still have it.
Even after you pass on?
Correct. You
Okay.
still have decisions you have to make. Because some of the ancient beliefs, now I like to go back to the ancient, right? The scholars say that you're going to make choices. That's why some of the ancient beliefs, they give certain items when the person passes on. The umbrella, the shoes. There's so many different things, and we don't have enough time, but we're going to go over that in detail in different beliefs, because I think it's really neat to understand why people think the way they do, why they practice the way they do. And if you have an understanding, you wouldn't condemn it. You would just say, that's not my cup of tea. Right? Condemnation is forbidden anyhow. That means you're judging.
Right.
And we can't judge people. Now, when they say you're going to come to a fork in the road, and you're going to see two tunnels. One on the right is all dark. And the one on the left is a tunnel of light. You have to make the choice. And a lot of people, they'll say, but who would you pick? Which one would you pick? Well, that's your choice. Your soul will guide you when you get to there. Because remember, the soul is carrying your thoughts.
Right.
Not your body, not your brain. It's the thoughts. So now, the only thing we can say through all the years, thousands of years, it is proven, because people have died and they were resuscitated or they came back to life themselves. And they said they saw a white light. And it was so peaceful. But then other ones have come back and said they saw black. But it felt so peaceful.
Both of them felt peaceful.
Correct. This is where we should start listening to our soul and that inner guidance now when we make decisions, because we're definitely going to have to rely on it when we go on that journey. And in spirituality, they always say, darkness leads to the light, and light leads to the darkness. Yin and yang, Chinese.
Right.
All I'm saying is that knowledge, when you start gaining knowledge, it gives you awareness. And when you have an awareness, you'll have understanding. How many times have you been around somebody and that person will just get under your skin? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Right? And every time you see those people, they get under your skin. Do you get angry? Do you get upset? Do you get irritated? What happens?
For me personally, right?
Yeah.
But in the past, yeah, I used to react. I used to get angry. And, you're just trying to avoid those type of people.
Okay. But let me ask you a question. What would God do in that situation? From what you know and heard, how the Supreme is. How would he handle a situation like that?
To me, he wouldn't be affected by the words. Like,
Why?
I'm not sure, but I just think that he wouldn't be affected because he has that divine side. He knows, like,
It's common knowledge that if a person goes up against you and tries to make you upset, there's something wrong with their life. They might be in a battered situation. They might be unhappy. They might be in pain inside. There's something. So God would look beyond the illusion, what's happening,
right.
and look beyond and see what is causing that person to be how they are. And instead of running away or putting that person down, I'm pretty sure God would put out a hand
Wow.
to try to help that person. See, we can't respond to what we see immediately. And I always tell people, when you're in doubt, take 2 seconds. If you don't know how to react to something, say, what would God do? If you try to follow what you've learned in your belief, would you go wrong?
No.
Think about it. Or do we let go? And let go means you let our desires go. You let them go wild. And then your desires, they start getting tramped on by people. You get upset. Now your emotions are heightened. Some people call ruffle the feathers. For what? We don't even know why it happened in the first place at that split second. The old saying is, do not believe in what you just see. Look beyond what you see and you will see the truth. Do not just listen to what's being said. Listen to what's not being said. And you will start knowing the truth. So let me ask you something. Do people always tell the truth?
No. No.
What's the percentage? Ananias, you're right here. He's our technician. Do people tell the truth all the time?
I would say like about 55% of the time.
Okay, so he's at 55%.
Yeah, you're
That's
very
still a
generous.
low percentage, right? So the reason let me ask you something then. That person that you're talking about or you're upset about, they have a soul.
Right.
You have a soul. Now, don't you think they can communicate?
I was now going to ask you that.
So now, don't you think both souls are sitting there saying, oh boy, here we go again. Now they're putting us to work. We got to document all this stuff. Because we are not listening to the guidance that God gives us every day. Remember, that soul is centered within you. And the object of every individual is to connect through the physical mind to the superconsciousness. Now that communication starts to work. But if you don't, how many times, you like to give percentages, how many people do you think has got or had that intuition? And the intuition is saying, no, Don't go there. But then the physical mind is saying, but you need to go because they have this, and this. Right? So how many people then get the feeling, and it warned you. The reason it warned you, something wasn't going to be right. But then the physical mind justified, yes, you need to go. And you go. What normally happens? Problems happen. So if we keep putting our finger on a hot stove, don't you think we would have learned by now to start listening to that internal guidance that everybody has, which is a part of God? So what we've done tonight, I've tried to recap quite a bit, but then throw in a few new at the same time. Everybody, the soul is real. Your heartbeat started when you were conceived, when the soul entered your body.
So, Master, even before birth, the soul is in the body already. Like before.
Oh. The soul makes, I said it in past programs, your life is written before you are born.
Right.
God knows everything. You pick your mother. Now, you come in, bam, heartbeat starts. Now, the soul at that time, just like when it departs, is centering. Centering within the human body,
Right.
in the fetus, in the development of the person,
Right.
right? And then the soul starts to, it remembers. Do you know the baby, when it's born, even before it's born, remembers before it was born? And a lot of people don't understand this. And then some people say, oh God, you're talking about reincarnation. Well, I was raised as a Christian. I'm still an ordained minister. But I've seen it with my eyes. 1 in a billion you will actually witness somebody that was reincarnated. They have all the past knowledge. They know all the past people, the past village they lived in. They even solved a crime in numerous cases of how they got killed. And they actually charged in India the person that killed him in his past life. And the kid was 5 years old. We will actually go into those cases one by one
Wow,
coming up. Yes. And he was born within 5 miles of where he lived his life. When he was killed, his hand was chopped with a cutlass, and these 3 fingers were severed. Then he was shot in the chest. When the little baby was born, it was 6 months later, he was missing these 3 fingers and had a birthmark right here where he was shot. When the other kids were making fun of him in school, because you know how kids can be, and he come home crying, and then he said, that's enough. And the father says, no, they're boys, they're going to make fun. But you know that you're special. You know that who you are and everything. He says, no, I come back because this person, and he named him, killed me. And this is how he killed me. And I can show you where and what we were fighting over because they were business partners.
Oh.
And they actually solved the case. It was a very rare case how this happened, but the evidence was overwhelming. There was another girl that was born, and she kept saying she was from this village. She was from this village. This is what their name was. And I'm talking a 4-year-old. right? The 4-year-old hasn't traveled. The 4-year-old don't know where everything is. And so the parents took him and they were trying to show her that maybe she dreamed something, you know, and tried to get her to think normal. But when she walked up and she said, "That's where I live. There's my uncle right now." And she named him by name.
Wow.
So when you start seeing the evidence, a person cannot just rule out something. You have to look deeper into what. Now their ideal was to come back and seek justice, but in a good way,
Right.
not by revenge.
Right.
But humans nowadays, if they find out somebody did something, they may pick up a cutlass and go down the road and cut the guy. Or they'll hire a friend to go shoot him. All I'm trying to say is understand that our bodies are a vehicle. The soul resides inside our body. We, within the vehicle, without the soul, are supposed to be in control of our mind. Try to keep it calm so that our desires, what always get us in trouble, we're in control of those.
Right.
And when you're in control of the desires that we have and our senses, now we have a one-way street with the communication with our superconsciousness, which is the soul and God. So everybody that's listening tonight, some things you may agree with, some things you may not agree with. But I think the one thing that everybody would agree with, shouldn't we try to watch what we say? Shouldn't we try to watch what we think? How we react to situations? The old saying is treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. How many people do that? Give me another percentage.
Well, in Trinidad,
I'm saying worldwide. Because you can compare.
experience like more.
Right. But people don't. Everything is about me, I. Well, let me explain. I had a great spiritual conversation with a person I very look up to the other day. And we had this conversation. And this person told me they're getting to the point to where devotion-wise, spiritual-wise, and the connection with God, to where the I doesn't exist anymore. And I said, then you're going to go to the next step. And they said, what's that? I said, there is never no I in your speech. It is we. You and God. You, everything you do. So when you hear somebody preach in whatever belief, and you hear them say, I do this, I, they haven't reached it. They're still grounded to the earthly realm. It's about credit, fame. But when you acknowledge and say we, then when you get to the top, when you pray, no matter what religion you pray in, you'll be able to say, I am you, you are me, we are one. At that time, you won't have hatred. Why? That's petty. You won't care if somebody stole your food out of the fridge last night. That's petty. When I lost my shoes one time, and I got kind of upset. You know, when you walk into some temples, you got to leave your shoes outside.
Yeah.
I had a brand new pair. Oh gosh, real nice pair. When I come out, pair gone. And somebody left me their old pair and took my pair.
That does always happen
Right?
in temples.
And I started getting a little aggravated. And my guru at the time, he laughed. He says, this means they needed it more than you. Look at that old pair. And he said, at least they were honest enough to give you what they had. So this is what I'm trying to say, everyone. I know we're getting close on time, and I want to thank again Bonanza Drugs. Great service, stocked up. You're not going to have to go in there and hear what you're hearing everywhere else in Trinidad right now saying, we don't have this. We're short of this. No. You're going to get great service, and they are on 49 Eastern Main Road in San Juan. And their contact number is 674-1465. And I want to say thank you so much again for actually sponsoring this program tonight. But all of you listening tonight, I hope I gave you a little bit to think about. How the soul is, how it resides in you, the protective line in within you, how it leaves you, how it documents everything, how you travel on your journey as the soul. As you came, you shall go. That's what every belief talks about. When you are born, you begin to die. But when you die, you are being reborn.
Wow.
You are going to your real home. And that's back with God. Everyone, it has been a pleasure. I want to say thank you for being on the program
Always a
again
pleasure,
tonight.
Master.
And I want to also acknowledge 97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, and ZMB Communications, which is making it possible through 97.5. I want to say thank you to everyone that's made this possible, because knowledge is the key. Whether it's in your occupation, your life, or your spiritual journey, knowledge, awareness is what's going to make it happen. Everybody, it's been a pleasure being with you tonight. And I want to say I'm glad everybody had a safe holidays. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you ate your belly full. Not too many sweets. But again, everyone, you have a fantastic evening.